This video presents the standardized hand netting technique for day-flying bees and their terrestrial habitats. This was made as a supplement for the Handy Bee Manual and should not be used as a sole resource. A list of resources is listed on screen, and links to all the resources can also be found in the description below. The Handy Bee Manual is updated frequently, so please ensure you have the latest version. For specialized habitats, please refer to the Handy Bee Manual, U.S. National Native Bee Monitoring Research Coordination Network publications, and other literature. Hand netting is the most traditional method to sample bees. It is an important tool for investigating the relationship between bees and their habitats. It places a special emphasis on recording the association of the bee with the flower it was collected from, which allows for studying bee-plant relationships. Hand netting also tends to capture larger-bodied bees that are undersampled by bowl traps. If your objective is to develop a species inventory, then combining hand netting with bowl trapping will provide the most comprehensive data on community composition. However, it is important to note that hand netting has biases that may impact inference, namely netter skill level and likelihood to disproportionately observe larger and more common species. Optimal netting times will likely differ with the plant community of interest, but should ideally be conducted between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. or while the sun is up, unless your specific project goals require sampling outside this time frame. Record start and end times, as these serve as an effort indicator in the data. If no bees were collected during the survey, it is important to document that data on your survey sheet. At least 2 of these conditions must be met throughout the netting period. Temperatures above 55 degrees Fahrenheit, cloud cover does not exceed mostly cloudy, defined as more than 75% of the sky is covered by clouds, and winds are mild, or less than 10 knots or 3 on the Beaufort scale. Do not net during or right after precipitation, or if precipitation will occur while you are netting. Before you begin, it is good practice to pre-fill survey sheets and tracking labels to reduce time spent writing in the field and ensure data consistency throughout transects and sites. Tracking labels are small pieces of paper that contain the minimum data required for tracking samples during specimen processing. They are placed in each Ziploc bag with specimens after each survey. Tracking labels need to be printed using a laser printer on heavy cardstock, or ideally, right in the rain paper. Tracking labels should only be filled out using a pencil. Never use a pen or marker on the label or on the outside of the bag, as the ink will dissolve. It is also good to create a supply checklist to confirm you have all the necessary supplies. Refer to the Handy Bee Manual for a list of recommended supplies and a tracking label template. When you are ready to begin netting, record the time on your survey sheet and set a 30-minute timer. Hold your net in a swing-ready position with your dominant hand below the head and your other hand near the middle or end of the pole. Use your middle and ring fingers on your dominant hand to lightly hold the tip of the net against the pole to prevent it from snagging on vegetation. When you are ready to swing, drop the tip of the net. Look for bees in exposed open settings around clumps of flowers. Stand a couple steps away and try not to let your shadow fall across the flowers. Most of the times, you'll find bees foraging or resting on flower heads. Looking for bees is a practice skill. It pays to practice looking for bees in a landscape, as a better observer equals a better netter. To catch a bee on the flower, slowly move the net to just under the bee, then swing fast with an upward scooping motion. Immediately after catching the bee, snap the net to force the bee down into the tip of the net. Once the bee has moved up, hold the tip of the net closed to prevent the bee from escaping. If you find a bee low to the ground, you can slap the net over the bee to catch it. Hold the tip of the net up to encourage the bee to fly upwards into the net. Once the bee is moved up, pick up and snap the net to force the bee deeper into the net. Hold the tip of the net closed to prevent the bee from escaping. As you become comfortable with netting bees, you may opt to collect multiple bees in your net bag, which can save time since you don't need to pause a timer to remove each bee. If your net bag fills up with flowers, you can remove them by snapping the net downward a few times to force the bees into the tip, then quickly pulling the flowers out of the bag. Be aware that it takes advanced skill to net and transfer multiple bees into collection vials without losing a few bees. We highly recommend you practice netting at a local site before conducting surveys to build up your netting skills. Once you are ready to remove the bees from the net, pause your timer. Snap your net down to force the bees into the tip of the net, then use your non-dominant hand to pinch the tip closed. Using your other hand, remove the cap from a vial filled with soapy water or your kill jar of choice. Slide the vial into the net and slowly loosen your grip on the net bag tip. Scoop the insects into the vial as you move the vial into the net. One method of encouraging stubborn bees into the vial is to trap the bee against the side of the net, then tapping or flicking the bee through the net into the vial. Once all the insects have been collected, remove the vial from the net, being careful to keep the vial upright to prevent the water from spilling. Immediately cap the vial and shake it to ensure all the insects are submerged. When you are ready to resume, start your timer again as you continue netting for bees. Stop and start the timer to process additional bees as they are collected. If your project is not keeping track of specific bee-plant interactions, collect all the bees in one container. Use a new container if the previous container is full. At the end of the survey, place all filled containers for the transect into a Ziploc bag along with a tracking label detailing the container's metadata. If your project is studying specific bee-plant interactions, place a container in a Ziploc bag along with a tracking label detailing the container's metadata and the host plant the specimens were collected on. Use a new container to continue netting bees. Multiple bags with bees collected from the same transect or date can all be stored together in a large Ziploc bag. Before leaving, ensure all data has been recorded on all necessary sheets and you have all the supplies you brought with you. The specimens should be stored in a negative 20 degrees Celsius freezer as soon as possible to prevent the specimens from deteriorating. The specimens should be processed within 6 months of capture. As a reminder, this video presents the standardized hand netting technique for day-flying bees and the terrestrial habitats and is not intended to be used as a sole resource. For more information on bee collections and links to resources, please refer to the Handy Bee Manual or any of the other resources below. We also have other videos on bee survey techniques which can be found on screen. Thank you for watching!